Have you ever found yourself in one of these two scenarios? The first is you're on a discovery call with a prospect who's so eager to talk about solutions that they have zero interest in answering your questions about their problem. Now, the second scenario is your classic cold buyer who's so reluctant to open up that doing discovery with them feels like you're trying to pull teeth. Two very different scenarios, but here's the twist. They both stem from the exact same problem. Now, in the next two lessons, I'm going to teach you how to craft discovery questions that tackle both scenarios head on and steer your conversations where they need to go. So let's dive in. Now, the first thing you should know about kickstarting discovery is that most buyers come from one of two psychological places. The first group is those eager beavers. Okay, these are the buyers that are actively exploring solutions. They've often come inbound to you, they're probably looking at competitors, and they most likely want to talk solutions, not the underlying problem that started it all. Now, the second group are the cats in the bath, buyers with latent pain. You've gone outbound to them, so they're reluctant to do any sort of discovery with you. And finding a solution to a problem they haven't crystallized, it's just not a huge priority for them right now. So in lesson one, I told you that the goal of discovery is to uncover your buyer's underlying problem or true pain. But in both of these scenarios I just presented, your buyer's making that a little bit difficult. So what do? Well, in both scenarios, this friction usually happens for the same reason. And that reason is that your discovery is not aligned with where your buyer is in the quote-unquote buyer's journey. Now, here's what I mean. If you're talking to an actively exploring inbound lead who's currently defining, evaluating, or deciding on a solution, and you say something like, "Tell me about your key challenges," well, they're already past that. They'll get irritated because you're treating them as if they're in the first half of the buyer's journey, right? When they're more interested in talking about the second half. The key to discovery is to ask questions that meet your prospect exactly where they are on the buyer's journey. I'll show you how to do that. Let's keep talking about inbound leads for now, and we'll cover outbound leads in the next lesson. Since inbound leads, or our actively exploring leads, are typically interested in talking about solutions, you're going to use something I call the go back in time technique. The go back in time technique means you start by asking a couple questions that align with your buyer's desire to talk about solutions. Then you'll ask for their permission to go back in time and talk about the original pain that set all of this in motion. When you do this tactfully, this demonstrates to your buyer that you understand their desires and they're going to have a lot more of a productive conversation with you. When you don't do this well, that's when you cause friction. So what does a go back in time question look like and what does it sound like? Well, here's the exact talk track you should use. Now, you can modify this talk track if you want to, but I found it actually works pretty well across a wide range of categories and markets. So after you've established your rules of engagement and you've identified your lead as an actively exploring lead, one of the first questions you can ask is this: tell me about what motivated you to look into your solution category. This question meets your inbound lead where they are in the buyer's journey. But one question is not enough, right? You're gonna kill the vibes entirely if you dive into the past too soon at this point. So after you've had a little bit of back and forth around this first question, you can then ask a second question that piggybacks off of that first one. And that might be something like this: what are you aiming to accomplish with something like this? Okay, you could even ask, what are you looking for in a solution like this? Now, either way, you're asking another question that warms them up to you and builds some more trust. Now, and only now that we've done that, can you whip out the time machine and ask about pain from the past? And you'll do it like this: interesting, can I go back in time with you for a second? What was the original challenge going on in the business that caused you to prioritize looking into a solution like this? Now, I want you to notice something I did there. I asked for their permission. This is something you should get in the habit of doing throughout your sales career. I call these phrases permission points. Remember what we talked about in lesson 3. The more you ask leads for buy-in and give them the feeling of control, the more they'll open up to you and be receptive to what you have to say. Okay, we just covered how to meet your inbound leads, where they are in the buyer's journey. Then how to tactfully pivot the conversation to talk about their underlying pain. It's time to try it on your own. I want you to choose an upcoming discovery call, then plan and write 3 go back in time questions that follow the script I've provided you here. Then, as always, I want you to self-assess and make note of what did or didn't go well and why. You can use the worksheet provided with this course to help keep track of your notes. Otherwise, let's shift gears. How do we handle leads with latent pain? The ones who aren't actively searching for solutions just yet and aren't exactly thrilled to hear from you. We'll talk about them next.